Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too, because you are consumed. Hopefully, you are consumed with content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in the whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing, right? What I'm discussing today is something that kind of hit me in a flash. It's not necessarily the regular content that I do, but I woke up yesterday morning, I believe, and I was in extreme gratitude. And if you've ever experienced that, it's like you're sleeping and the minute you turn over, there's like an extreme wave of gratitude that comes over you for something or someone or just the state of your life. And that happens to me quite often, because I know most of the time we have to kind of like bring the gratitude to us. You know, we have to intentionally set time apart and we sit there and we become grateful and we write down and we script and we put in our journals and what are we grateful for, blah, blah, blah. But this is a little bit different and it happens to me ever so often, and I love it because it's not even brought on personally by me. It's something that just happens. So I woke up yesterday morning and I was like, man, I am so grateful for motherhood. Like, I'm so grateful to be a mom. And I didn't want to sound cheesy and cliche, you know, it's the greatest job on earth, blah, blah, blah. It's nothing like that. There are really specific and nuanced things about being a mother that I truly, truly enjoy. And this is not to say that you can't get these things from other places, right? This is nothing to negate any other experience in life, but this is my experience and I'm just sharing these amazing things that just popped in my head while I was laying there. And then I was consumed with it so much that I turned over and started scribbling in my journal. And so I put notes, so you'll see me looking, right? So the first thing that popped into my head was just the magic. I feel the magic part of being a witness and a vessel to one of the Creator's most important tasks on this earth, right? And I'm not saying it is the most important, but I said one of the most important because without the people, we wouldn't have the society, right? So when we replenish the people, there is an importance to that job, right? And it's not to say everybody should do that job, right? I feel like I'm going to be doing disclaimers all the way through this because I know it's a touchy subject for some people and I have no intentions of pushing those little buttons. This is strictly a conversation about me and my experiences, and maybe some positivity can be gleaned from it from other people. That would be wonderful, right? Watching them grow and develop into people and learn how to do things and like do music and sports and art is like truly magical to me, right? It's like you get to see the creation from the very beginning and then like watch it go. So many of us kind of like we weren't conscious in our younger years, like a lot of us weren't. I remember way too much from my early years than I should, but a lot of people weren't. And so when you do witness children and you become a vessel for a child or something like that, you get to witness this process happening right before your eyes, right? And if you're not too bogged down with stress or whatever else you got going on, it's a beautiful masterpiece to see it unfold and to see them learn things and to see them try things and then it not work and then try at things again, you know? It's like a reminder to yourself that you are still just like your childlike version of you. And in life, if you don't understand something the first time, then maybe it's going to take some time to actually latch on to it and get it right. With children, we expect these things, but literally we have the same spirit in us every time we're trying to do or be something new in our lives, right? Another thing I love about being a mom is something that's more recently, right? It's having them think about me when I'm not around, having them think about something that I need or something that they want to get me when I'm not around, right? We're still, the little one is not quite there yet, but the older one is like, she was out one day with her friends and they went to the mall and she came back with a box of incense for me. Extremely insignificant, small little thing. Something probably cost like $3.99 or whatever. But just the fact that she was out and about and then she thought, oh, my mom would like this, and she grabbed it. It felt so strange to receive something because, you know, you get the little pictures and the little ashtrays they made when they were in the school system at one point, and the little, what is it called? Paper mache things and all that. But like when they get older and stuff, a lot of people talk about the teenage years and how, you know, shifty they can be. Well, it does get shifty, and I'll be honest with you, like once a month. But like any other time, it's kind of nice just like being there. And I'm so used to being the one that's doing, that's giving, that's, always having to, pull out the card and swipe it and just take care of this, take care of that, take care of this. And then to have one of your kids is like you've gotten all the way to a point where you nearly have an 18-year-old and they're out and about and they're thinking about you and doing things. Like I see this happen with other people, but when it happens to you, it's like, it's amazing. It's like, oh, wow, I really, this job is really been done. You know what I mean? It's like this process has really been going from baby to now. And this person has their own critical thinking. They have their own mindset and they have their own wants and desires and prompts. And to be still in that space when they don't really owe you anything. I mean, sorry to tell so many people, they don't owe you anything. I say respect they owe you, but we know people out here not giving their parents respect either. So when you have these things happening, it's just a beautiful reminder that, wow, these are real people, they become real people. I remember coming home from the hospital when I was married and I told my ex-husband, I was like holding my first daughter and I was like, can you believe this? And he was like, what? And I was like, we just made a person. I was like, you can literally just bring people into the world anytime you want. And I was like, shouldn't this be regulated? Like, this is a person. And it's like, the miracle was not lost on me. I'll put it that way. And he was like, yeah. But for me, it was like remarkable. It's just remarkable, right? Something else I love about being a mother is supporting their goals and endeavors and teaching them how to be master manifestors, right? Because so many of us wish we had grown up with certain information and had access to certain things when we were coming of age. And we didn't necessarily have access to those things because our parents maybe weren't awakened. It was not the age of information like, they say we're in now. And I was teaching when the term democratization of information was being expressed everywhere. And it means that now people have access to things at ease on the computer that they didn't have access to before. So like being able to share those higher level thinking aspects with them is like so cool to see it from ground up and to see how they make decisions and choices different from the way that I did because some of the information just wasn't available to me. So watching them listen to, some of the books I'll play in the car, like Think and Grow Rich. I was listening to Tony Robbins and Lisa Nichols and Eckhart Tolle. Like all this has been playing in the cars and stuff since they were little. And it was me reprogramming my mind. But for them, it was learning for the first time. And this is why, like when you do like education or academia, something I've been involved in for a long time in my life, they always ask you about adult learning because adult learning is very different than childhood learning. Childhood learning is the first time, blank slate, get it right. And if you do, that's going to be the program for a long time, right? And then you have adult learning where you're trying to scrape everything that's already been taught, even, the rough stuff. And then you're trying to lay on top of that the new ideas. And that's a little bit harder and you have to take a different avenues, right? So it was nice with me with overdoing repetition because that's what works really well for adults. And then with them being fresh information and them kind of sharing it with people and other people. And you're just like, wow, they really just think that way, right? They they were raised to be master manifestors. Even when they have their little moments where nothing's working, they come right back to the information that they know is true. And I see it happening. And it's just so fun to watch. Nonetheless, something else. That I really love. And the last point too. Watching them accomplish things based on those principles is fun too. Because you're just like, hey, my daughter mentioned one day, she was like, I really want a job. And so she applied at a couple of mall places. And I was like, well, you don't want to have to go too far out of your way because you got this, that, and that. And then one of her friends asked her the next day, she was like, you want a job? I work at this, fancy restaurant. They need hostesses, whatever like that. And she was like, maybe. And I'm like, maybe, girl, you just finished telling the universe that you wanted a job. And so she was like, yeah, and it pays way more money than what she thought it was going to pay. And I'm like, you see how you manifested? I was like, you barely put any effort towards that. You put the intention out there. You decided on it. You let it go because you're not like hard up to have a job. And then you saw it coming. She said, yeah. And so it's nice running that through their brains with them, Something else I love about being a mom is I love listening to them banter with each other in the other room. And I know this is kind of different when you have like one child or, you don't have as many, but you don't have more than one. But listening to them have conversations with each other and they have separate friend groups and separate interests, and how they talk about their different friends. It's like, why did she do that? And you hear things like, I just think it's trauma. And I'm like, these children don't know anything. But I'm just listening from the other room, and I'm like, look how they're critical thinking. Look how they're listening and bouncing off of each other and not talking over each other and having these conversations about why people do what they do, right? Because they've sat in sociology classes too, so they know some things. And I'm like, why people do what they do and what might be. And then the other one's like, yeah, maybe it's a rough home life. And they're like, I'm like listening like, these girls don't know. But it's so fun to listen to that in the background, because you're just like, wow, this is successful launching of children with emotional and mental capacities and thoughtful processes too, and critical thinking. And they can literally carry on by themselves. And this is so funny. They've been talking to each other like that since they were little girls, but I've always made the space for that in the environment. And so to hear how it's expanded and it's developed and evolved over time and who they are now, it's just fun to be a witness to that. Because it's like, man, this is really, really cool to listen to them becoming people, becoming healthy people, in my opinion, and thinking deeply about their environments and why people do what they do. And then the conversation being had when I'm not in the room and I'm not, navigating it, when it's just them navigating it, or I hear them talking to their friends. It's like, it's really cool. This is a smaller one, but a really big one. Something I really love. I love hugging my daughters. I love hugging my daughters. And ever since they were little, they would come up to me for a hug randomly throughout the day. And I've never pushed, ever say, oh, no hugs, blah, blah, blah. You can get a hug anytime. And it's the reason why I was raised in one of those environments where physical touch was not a regular thing. It wasn't really encouraged either. And so to have created an environment, to have created a family, like my own little, our own little ecosystem, to where physical touch has been a thing. It's like you can almost rewrite the script of what you were and then create what you'd like to experience, right? And it's like, man, I would have loved to have experienced more hugs from my parents when I was a little kid, right? It's not that I don't know what it did, what it changed or whatever. I don't really know, but I just know that it's so nice to embrace them. And so as you get older and you try to recreate these things, it's kind of awkward because it wasn't necessarily in your upbringing. But with them, it's been such a physical touch kind of relationship, and like leaning on me and then like laying on my lap and then like getting in my bed and then like all kinds of little nonsense. But there's no like awkwardness with like touching my body, And I grew up with a very much on awkwardness with touching adults around me and even my siblings too. So it's like, it's nice to have created an environment like that. When they were little kids, of course, it used to be every day, several times a day. And now it's just like maybe once a day they'll come for a hug or something. And maybe the one that's a little more introverted, it's like every other day she comes for a hug or something. But it's so rich of an experience for me, because it's like I got to reparent myself in a way that I wanted, something that I wanted. And then I also get to give it to them. And so, like they see their friends, they see the other people, and they just give hugs and stuff like that. And this is something that didn't even come from even the other side of their family, because they were like, oh, my granny doesn't really give us hugs, like talking about, because they're from a different era. A lot of people didn't come from that. I would like to say it's a different era, but I think it's just a different type of environment that people were raised in, They don't know how to continue on with physical touch after you are no longer a baby or a child anymore, right? And while I think I would have had a beautiful life had I not had children, I don't really think that this was my only way to experience the miracles and the beauty in life that I wanted to experience. But this has been an amazing vessel for me to experience that thing. I'm the kind of person who's a shaker and a mover. I was going to be doing some things regardless, right? I had these kids and I still managed, after having them, to get 3 more college degrees in areas that I needed in order to teach things or to do things or a technical, whatever like that. And even a PhD and stuff, they were there when I was going to school and attending classes. I wouldn't say failed. I even got a C in a class, which is when you're working on a doctorate, you can't get a C, because I couldn't make it to the class every Thursday night. And the instructor had zero empathy for that whole experience. And so they've been there and they watched me go through the horror of having a score that was 1 point under what I needed in order to graduate, and had to wait 2 more years to graduate. But nonetheless, so I've been doing things. I would never stop doing things, right? And then even in that meanwhile, I'm sitting at home with kids, I'm writing books, right? I'm working on my 8th book right now, right? They're on Amazon easily. So it's like people act like, oh, you won't have this and that. And then you talk about financial abundance. It's low. It was lower in my 30s than it is now. But I think that's the natural pace of life. You don't get, most of the time, you don't have a huge abundance because your career and all that hasn't been solidified. And whatever you do, whether it's a business, career, whatever, hasn't been fully solidified until you're getting close to 40 years old or whatever. So I think it's a myth that you can't have a good life with, financial abundance when you have children, especially in a situation, because this is not unique, where I do this primarily by myself, right? And so I didn't start off that way, but I sure have been finishing that way. But it's all good because I've been knowing from the very beginning that my source was the creator. I've never ever made it feel like other people had to do things for me or give me things. These are children that came through me as a vessel. I seem to have the biggest vested interest in how they turn out and what's going on with them and what's happening day to day with them and whether they eat, whether they're sleeping, whether they go to dentist appointments and all that. So guess what? I'm all they got. And when you have children and you're all they got, it's like you got to give them all you got, right? And it's been a beautiful experience in that way because many attitudes and mindsets that I had in the very beginning of my life, selfishness and all that, I had to cast it aside because I was like, this job is more important. And I didn't look around. Very seldom did I look around and say who wasn't helping me, right? I didn't spend too much time there because I knew the creator that I serve is way bigger than anybody else trying to hold back a few pennies because they think it's going to make a difference. It's not. And yeah, you can still do a lot of success and still manage to travel a lot of places, still manage to travel internationally a lot of places, still manage to travel locally, if you want to say that, a lot of places. I've never been completely held up in my life to where I just can't move them. And I know that I've had a bit of a support system in that way because they have a really good, grandparent on the other side who was always available to take them if I needed things done. And while they've gotten older and they don't necessarily want to go spend summers at Granny's house anymore. And I was kind of like, y'all still here? But it's not going to be forever. And this is time, you got to savor it because this is a short period of time. They're going to have all these years for the rest of their lives to kind of create their lives and go to college and take on these careers and meet new people and travel new places and start new projects. And I'm just here for this little small part of it. So I try to be as grateful as possible for those moments and never ever feeling like it's some kind of burden in some kind of way. Because I think that's the biggest mistake that we can make was conflating our children with the responsibilities of a capitalistic world. Right? While, you can put them together, but the child's experience and the children you should be able to separate and say, guess what? Worrying about these bills being paid right now is not going to make a difference. So let me go in this bedroom and read these children this story and say prayers with them at night because those things are separate. And if you keep putting them together, then you're stressed out through the whole process and you've raised children who now carry your stress and also feel like a burden and also feel unwanted in some kind of way. And if anybody's experienced that, that's no fun for kids, right? And another thing is they make me laugh so much. I love being a mom with that because, man, these kids, their humor is insane. Their intellect is on another level, and the quickness at which they come up with these jokes. And it kind of runs in my family because I see nieces and nephews. I mean, they're with it. I was there for the holidays, and you make a comment, they're on it. And they're funny. They're funny. And my kids are no short of that. They're quick, right? I have a brother who's very, very, he's too quick. He's always making a joke. But but they're really funny. And when I hear them making jokes of each other, and when you see it coming, I'm like, girl, you walked right into that. It's hilarious. And they find a way to joke with each other and make humor that doesn't put the other one down in many ways, right? They're not big on that. And that's something that I made sure I raised. I was like, we're not going to be one of those families where it's like, oh, let me say these awful things about you. I'm just joking. I'm your sister. We're not doing that. Right. And then I love how I've been able to support them I can continue to support them. And I still have some more gas in the tank as they go off into this adulting era of their lives. And I never lost myself in the process of this. Like, there were moments where I felt like, what am I even doing? What am I? There were moments of transition where I didn't know what was next, right? Where I was like, well, I'm not a mommy of toddlers anymore. Then what am I? Then it's like, I'm not a mommy of tweens anymore. Then what am I? And then it's like, the minute you let those feelings and that stuff pass, it's like you realize you're in a new era. And it's like, oh, well, this is nice. Oh, well, my children buying me gifts at the mall. This is nice. Oh, you know, oh, them saying, how are you feeling today? You look sad, or something like that. Oh, this is nice. Y'all are conscious. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because, I don't know, sometimes we don't talk enough about why we love being moms and the beauty that comes along with these experiences. You can hear a whole lot about how much children cost and how much time it takes and how much effort. We already know this, right? In life, that is what's going to happen anyway. The time is going to pass anyway. The effort's got to be put into something, right? And this is not in any kind of way like a promotion for people to have children. Because I always say, if you don't think you want to have children, please don't. It's better for you. Because I think that if I thought that deeply into that and I felt pushed into it in any kind of way, then my attitude and energy might be different towards it. But because I made this conscious decision and I was like, I got one and I don't want them to be only children, I'm about to have another one. I was very conscious and methodical about that. I was like, 28 had one, 30 had the next one. And I wouldn't take anything away from it. I've loved the experience. I don't feel like I've missed out on much of anything because I know I'm friends with a lot of people who have no kids, and we pretty much did the same old stuff. Now, whether they could sleep in the morning and they don't have to get up at 7 to go bring people to school every day, yes. I don't have that luxury, but I'm getting up anyway. I was up this morning on my walking pad. It's like I'm going to do that anyway, but I just wanted to share because, every now and then you get those moments to where you just like, man, what a beautiful, blessed experience this has been. And I want to share it, right? The beauty of motherhood and what I've enjoyed most about being a mother. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.